space. It's something that I've been planning to do for some time, and it really became a lockdown project. I've been threatening to write this book for probably 3 or 4 years at least. And I used to write for Manx Tales, as some of you might know. And I thought, well, I got into the hang of writing articles, and I got into the hang of writing a big thing I did for the Astronomy Space Stamp Society. I wrote a big, huge article for them on space stamps. And I thought, let's do it in lockdown. So we wrote it. It took me a long time to write it. I finally finished writing it last February. And it's taken me about 6 months to get it all sorted out and typeset and the images in and everything else. And here it is. Lock, stock and barrel, and I'm delighted with it. And so far I've had some good reports of it. It only came out a week ago, and lots of interest in it. So thank you for inviting me up here to talk about it.
Oh, it's a delight.
I do hope it'll be of interest to Manx people. It's entitled, the title was a long, torturous process, because the original title of the book, It's Cloudy, Here's Howard, which was a reference to the fact that I give talks on astronomy and it's cloudy, so I give a lecture. But I thought no one's going to understand that at all, other than those who know me very well. So in the end, we settled on Space for Dark Skies.
Space for Dark, yep.
But
Great
then
name.
we've got
There we
the subtitle, An Astronomical Miscellany from the Isle of Man, which gives it worldwide appeal, I hope, that even people living further afield might be of interest in it, because where's the Isle of Man? It's something of note, and lots of the stories within it are all about the Isle of Man, lots of anecdotal stuff and lots of Manx links, and as I say, I just hope people enjoy it.
And that's the thing to stress, I think, isn't it? It's not a sort of a dry academic book on astronomy.
No, definitely not.
It's really lots of stories, and I've just been flipping through it there. I mean, I just flipped it open on a page at random, and I thought, gosh, there's something I didn't know straight off, and that there's a crater called Manannan on one of the moons of Jupiter, I think.
It's on one of the moon Europa.
Yeah.
It's on one of the moons of Europa. It's on the moon Europa, which goes around Jupiter. And what's fascinating about that particular moon is NASA had scheduled, or a plan, bit technical this, but Europa is a moon, we think it's an ice moon covered with ice, obviously, and we think it's got a liquid ocean underneath. So one of the plans was to land a spaceship on Manannan, and the crater Manannan, and then drill down through the ice and drop a submarine into the... you were just talking about submarines a moment ago on the radio, weren't you? And drop a submarine into the ice and then float around and look at it.
Some great pictures going throughout as well. A lovely one. I noticed there's one here of you with Professor Stephen Hawking. Now, that must have been a day to remember.
That was absolutely incredible. John Taylor very kindly invited me down to Aragon Moor, where he had Stephen Hawking as a guest. And I remember it vividly. It was the day of my 59th birthday. And that was my birthday present, if you like. And I went and met him. And I was in awe of the guy. He was just incredible. He gave a speech, obviously electronic speech, that he wrote on his computer screen. And I managed to shake his hand and everything else. And his assistant, his carer, said to me, Stephen likes your tie, because I put on one of my astronomy ties, which I'm known for in the lecture circuit, if you like. And evidently Stephen thought my tie was very good indeed. So it was just a memorable moment to meet a guy like him, the world's most leading physicist, sadly no longer with us, but to meet him in the Isle of Man as well, and on my birthday. It was, as you say, a memorable moment.
Wonderful. Speaking about birthdays, you do sort of hint at how you, early days, how you first got into it, and I think I'm right in saying it was, in fact, Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space. That was the sort of the spark for you that really started a lifelong... That was the spark for me. That's
in chapter 3, I think it is, my personal memories, because my mum, I've told lots of people this story, because people always ask me, how did you get interested in astronomy? Well, it wasn't astronomy to start with, it was space. And we were playing football in the road in Liverpool, and my mum came outside and said to us all, me and my friend, she said, come inside and watch this man, he's just been into space. I remember as an 8-year-old child thinking, wow, a man's been into space. And that was it. I was hooked, line and sinker, and... been talking about it and everything ever since.
And did you think, but you didn't think then, that here you are now, you would actually live to see the day? You might, I don't know that I will, but I mean, technically, if the pair of us had deep enough pockets now, we could possibly get into space ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've just given a talk to Braddon School this morning, and the kids, they love talking about space. I go to schools quite often, give talks about space. And since the recent innovations of commercial space exploration, the Inspiration 4 mission and Virgin Galactic and Jeff Bezos, Captain Kirk and all that sort of stuff, I actually say to the kids, I says, you work hard, you study hard. I said, I might not be around to see it, but within the next 50 years, there's a very good chance that one of you in this room will be in space. And of course, the kids' faces, wow, they don't believe you, but it's very, very possible, because you think about it, 100 years ago, and technology's leapt forward so much quicker now. 100 years ago, nobody had been in an airplane, other than the Orville and Wright brothers and people
amazing.
like that. Now, of course, we've all flown somewhere. And space flight will probably get something similar to that, I guess, about 50 years' time. suborbital flights to Australia, 2 hours to Australia, going up into space, then just cruising halfway around the world and then landing in Australia. That's on the drawing board as a commercial venture, and who knows what next?
Yeah, I just think the same. I just think I'm just probably going to be too old. If I was sort of 30 years younger, I might have a chance of maybe, trying that before I peg off this mortal coil. I'm probably just going to be too old to see it myself, unfortunately.
I'm in the same boat. I thought, look at William Shatner.
That's a great story, wasn't it? We were
Absolutely
talking about that last week.
I've got a great headline for that. To boldly go where 600 people have been before.
Perfect. It is space. It's about space. It's also about astronomy as well, of course.
Absolutely.
It's
that was the whole
a real
point.
good mix of the two. And you say dark skies, and of course, again, a nifty title as well, because of course, the dark skies in the Isle of Man. It's been another one of your great passions over the years.
It has indeed. And it's something that I still feel passionate about. I still feel we don't give it enough credit for what we've got on this island. We've got wonderful clear skies. Just recently, we've had some strange weather recently, but every now and then we get a really crystal clear night. And the amount of people who have seen the planet Jupiter, which is that very bright star in the southern sky at the moment. What's that bright star in the sky? It's Jupiter. And they've all seen the space station, which up until last Tuesday was crossing our Manx skies. There's so much to see, and our skies are so dark. I famously tell people, I used to walk home, I worked at the museum, as you probably recall, and I used to walk along the promenade. I used to go to the Terminus Tavern for a drink on a Friday night. So I'd walk along the promenade in the winter months, and even from the well-lit Douglas promenade, you could still see the Milky Way on a clear night without the moon. And people can't see the Milky Way from the British Isles in lots of places. Okay, if you go to North Wales or the Lake District or the Peak District places, of course you can. But we've got the Milky Way on our doorstep. All you need is a dark location. And to be fair, most people can just go into their back gardens and just get away from the street lights. And the sky is breathtaking. You don't need, I say this all the time, you don't need to know what you're looking at. You look at the Lake District. How many people can name the mountains we see in the distance? It's just a great view, and it's exactly the same with astronomy. Fantastic view of the stars. You're looking into the universe. You're looking millions of light years away. It's just awe-inspiring, I think, and just enjoy it. And if you want to know what they are, then obviously in my book, for instance, at the back of there's 5 chapters at the end of what you can see in the northern sky, or the summer, winter, spring, and I missed one. Winter sky.
That's it.
Missed them.
And again, there's always something to see. I've always loved going out, and again, if I dabble around a bit, just going out. Like say, there's normally one of the planets visible somewhere.
Usually.
And even if you've just got a sort of modest little telescope, or sometimes a good pair of binoculars, if you've got a tripod, you can actually sort of make out the fact that it's a little disc,
Yeah.
And still, to me, the ultimate thrill is the fact, and I never get over the fact, you can actually see the rings round Saturn through a small scope. And you think, wow, when you show people that, and you look for the first time, you think, really? You can
that is the real wow factor. We always say that in astronomy. That's the one where people look for the telescope and go, wow, and we all look at each other and say, yes, done it again. And at the moment, if you are looking in the sky at the moment, you've got a decent pair of binoculars. Jupiter, you can't mistake. It's low. It's quite very, very bright. In fact, it's the brightest thing in the southeastern sky, depending on what time you're looking. Not far from it, a lot fainter, but brighter than anything else around it, to the right of it, about a hand's breadth across in distance, is Saturn. Look at that for your telescope binoculars, and you'll see straight away it's something wrong with it. If it's not a very good telescope or binoculars, not very powerful, you'll see that it isn't. It's a disc, but it's not quite. It's an elongated disc. And then with a bit more power, you realise these are actually the rings of Saturn, first seen by Galileo in 1610.
Amazing when you think about it.
Incredible.
Isn't it? But of course, again, we should stress as well, you don't need any equipment at all. You
No.
can still go out and see so much just with the naked eye.
That's what I say, and that's one thing I've done in the book. I do put a chapter at the very end on request. I put some stuff in about equipment, but basically it's naked eye stuff. What can you see? The constellations, the meteor showers, the planets, eclipses, that sort of stuff. So I hope it's of interest to people.
It's a terrific book. It looks wonderful, beautifully produced, beautifully bound, some fantastic pictures inside. There is something for everyone. As I say, you don't need to be an astronomical nut to enjoy this. It's just something really, you can find out all sorts of wonderful stories, pictures, little bits and pieces you wouldn't know beforehand, linking in with, like I say, linking with space, astronauts, the whole things, and of course with an Isle of Man perspective. Where do people get it?
Any bookshop, any decent bookshop. All the bookshops in the Isle of Man have got it. Or you can contact myself directly at howardparkin@manx.net. And what I've done, I'm including all island delivery.
Wow.
Not off the island, but all island delivery. If people get in touch with me, I'll be more than happy to drop a copy off for them. Or as I say, it's in all the different bookshops around the island.